As Mu Chen's voice echoed across the white jade plaza, the entire bustling city fell into an eerie silence. Countless gazes turned toward the young man with a faint smile on his face. Swallowing nervously, no one expected that. Faced with the 5 immortal grade heavenly supremes of the Heavenly Luo Alliance, this young mansion lord of Mu Manor would show no intention of retreating. On the contrary, he adopted the most resolute stance. Seated on the golden throne, the expressions of the Ghost Emperor, Dan Yang Patriarch, Violet Thunder Venerable, and the other 3 immortal grade heavenly supremes darkened slightly, cold light flashing in their eyes. Impudent. As the 5 immortal grade heavenly supremes grew colder, a sharp voice rang out from the surroundings of the white jade plaza. 3 figures shot forward in a blur, releasing a massive surge of spiritual energy. These were 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes. These 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes were clearly high-ranking members of the Heavenly Luo Alliance, second only to the 5 immortal grades. With Mu Chen acting so recklessly, they couldn't hold back any longer. However, it was obvious that they were also acting on the Ghost Emperor's tacit suggestion, probing Mu Manor's strength by taking the lead. A mere upstart Mu Manor dares to oppose the Heavenly Luo Alliance? They are truly ignorant of their place. The 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes sneered, showing no courtesy. With a single strike, they sent 3 torrents of spiritual power tearing through the air, mercilessly sweeping toward Mu Chen's group. However, Mu Chen did not even spare them a glance. His pitch-black eyes, filled with indifference, remained locked on the Ghost Emperor and the others. But behind Mu Chen, Nine Nether's eyes flashed with a cold, icy glint. Her lips parted, and a surge of black flame shot out, burning with intensity. In an instant, the 3 raging torrents of spiritual power were completely consumed by the flames. The 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes were stunned. They had not expected that their attack would be so easily extinguished by Nine Nether. Realizing the difficulty of their opponent, the 3 tried to retreat. But Nine Nether would not let them escape so easily. Now that they had come forward, it was the perfect opportunity to assert Mu Manor's dominance. Her body trembled slightly, and a pair of phoenix wings, blazing with black flames, appeared behind her. With a single flap, her form vanished from sight like a ghost. As Nine Nether disappeared, the 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes immediately sensed danger. Spiritual energy surged through their bodies as they erupted in dazzling light, activating their spirit bodies and radiating immense spiritual energy. Swish! Nine Nether's figure reappeared behind the 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes like a ghost, her black flame wings slashing out. A streak of black light cut through the air, so sharp it seemed to tear apart space itself. The sharp whistling of the wind from behind caused the 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes to change their expressions drastically. In an instant, vast spiritual energy surged, forming multiple layers of defense on their bodies. Sizzle! However, the black light tore through their defenses, and the black flames burned everything to the ground. In an instant, the 3 were left with nothing but blackened marks where their defenses once were. Then came the sound of 3 anguished screams as they fell from the sky, blood pouring from deep, jagged wounds that nearly cleaved them open. The wounds continued to burn with black flames, preventing any chance of recovery. Hiss! Countless strong individuals around the plaza gasped in astonishment, their gazes filled with awe as they looked at Nine Nether hovering in midair. Clearly, no one had expected that the 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes of the Heavenly Luo Alliance would be defeated so swiftly and decisively by her. After delivering such a lightning-fast blow to the 3, Nine Nether did not stop. Her eyes flashed, and she shot out again as a streak of black fire, clearly intent on finishing off the fallen foes. The 3 spirit-grade heavenly supremes, seeing Nine Nether charge at them again, were horrified. After their previous encounter, they knew that even if they combined their strength, they were no match for her. How dare you? However, just as Nine Nether was about to strike again, a furious shout rang out like thunder. At the sound of the shout, Violet Thunder Venerable, seated on the golden throne, vanished from his seat. The space around him twisted, and he appeared directly in front of Nine Nether. He threw a punch, causing thunder to roar as a streak of purple lightning surged forward, crushing the space in front of it into nothingness. The moment the immortal grade Heavenly Supreme made a move, an overwhelming power far beyond the spirit grade burst forth. The purple thunder rapidly expanded in the phoenix eyes of Nine Nether. Just as she prepared to resist with full strength, Mu Chen appeared in front of her, his expression calm. Within his eyes, the pagoda emerged. Spiritual energy surged through his body, all of it transforming into crystal spiritual energy. Then, he clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and slowly swung it forward. The crystal spiritual energy gathered around his fist like a dazzling gemstone gauntlet. Boom! Mu Chen's fist collided with the purple thunder fist light. After a brief pause, the thunderous light shattered with a resounding crack. In the next instant, Mu Chen's fist seemed to pierce through space itself, striking the chest of the Violet Thunder Venerable with an eerie speed too fast to track. Boom! A deep rumble echoed. The space trembled. The Violet Thunder Venerable's body shuddered before he was blasted backward in a disheveled state, his feet carving 2 deep grooves across the jade-white plaza. Stabilizing himself with a dark expression, the Violet Thunder Venerable stared at the calm-faced Mu Chen not far away. For the first time, genuine dread crept into his heart, for it was only after clashing with him that he realized how terrifying Mu Chen's combat prowess truly was. Their exchange had occurred in a flash. By the time the countless powerful figures around the plaza came to their senses, they saw the Violet Thunder Venerable forced back by a single punch from Mu Chen. Immediately, an uproar erupted among the crowd. Although Mu Chen already had a considerable reputation in the Great Thousand Worlds, few had seen him face off against a true immortal grade Heavenly Supreme. Now, witnessing him suppress the Violet Thunder Venerable, who was at the initial immortal grade, while only at the mid-spirit grade, they could truly grasp the scale of his power. If the Violet Thunder Venerable is itching for a fight, he can come find me directly. No need to trouble a woman, Mu Chen said with a faint smile, retracting his fist. The Violet Thunder Venerable didn't reply, his gaze fierce and locked onto Mu Chen. Meanwhile, the commotion around the plaza gradually subsided, for everyone noticed that atop the Golden Throne, for immortal grade Heavenly Supremes, Ghost Emperor, Dan Yang Patriarch, and 2 others, were slowly rising to their feet. As they stood, it felt as if the heavens and earth dimmed. Ghost Emperor's ashen eyes locked onto Mu Chen as his deep voice reverberated through the air. Mansion Lord Mu, we all recognize your exceptional strength. In single combat, even I might not be able to gain the upper hand against you. His words sent a ripple of shock through the crowd. After all, Ghost Emperor was at the mid-immortal grade, an entire level above Mu Chen. Yet even he admitted defeat in a solo fight. Just how terrifying was Mu Chen's strength? But Mu Chen's expression remained calm. He showed no hint of pride in response to such heavy praise. The reason we invited you to this banquet today is simple. The Heavenly Luo Alliance intends to unify the Tian Luo continent. If Mansion Lord Mu is willing to lead the Mu Manor out of Tian Luo, we are prepared to offer compensation. However, if Mansion Lord Mu insists on contesting control over the Tian Luo continent. At this point, a cold glint emerged in Ghost Emperor's ashen eyes. His voice grew darker, laced with killing intent, causing the temperature to plummet across the realm. Then today, the 5 of us will have no choice but to join forces and learn from Mansion Lord Mu firsthand. At long last, the Heavenly Luo Alliance had revealed their true intentions. Around the plaza, countless experts wore grim expressions. The 5 immortal grade Heavenly Supremes of the Heavenly Luo Alliance were truly preparing to take on Mu Chen together. Their fear of him was evident. You people of the Heavenly Luo Alliance truly have no shame left, Nether said coldly from behind Mu Chen, her voice sharp with mockery. 5 immortal grade Heavenly Supremes ganging up on a single spirit grade Heavenly Supreme. If word got out, it would hardly reflect well on them. Ghost Emperor, however, only gave a faint smile. Victory or defeat decides all. I care little for the mains. His ashen gaze turned once again to Mu Chen as he chuckled. Besides, it's precisely because we respect Mansion Lord Mu that we resort to such tactics. Once this spreads, your reputation will soar even higher. Nether's phoenix eyes turned icy. Shameless. Mu Chen waved his hand to stop her from speaking further. He looked up and smiled at Ghost Emperor. Then I must thank the 5 of you for the generous publicity. The Violet Thunder Venerable sneered, that's only if you survive today. Mu Chen replied flatly, so you're all convinced I'm already finished? A cold gleam flickered in Ghost Emperor's ashen eyes. He spoke slowly, and what does Mansion Lord Mu think? As the sound of his voice faded, grayish-white spiritual energy erupted violently from his body. His form quickly transformed into a gem-like spirit body, and the flickering spiritual light in his eyes shook the void. An overwhelming aura of terrifying spiritual pressure enveloped the entire city. At the same time, the 4 immortal grade Heavenly Supremes, including the Dan Yang Patriarch and the Violet Thunder Venerable, also transformed into spirit bodies. In an instant, immense pressure, like a storm, swept over Mu Chen. 5 immortal grades acting together, such a spectacle was truly earth-shattering. Around the plaza, countless powerful figures changed expression, their faces tense. Facing this, one could imagine that even the terrifying Lord of Mu Mansion would feel a sense of caution and headache, right? Under the countless gazes, Mu Chen stared at the 5 figures. The smile on his handsome face gradually faded, replaced by an icy, bone-chilling coldness. If you like to outnumber your opponents, then let me show you what it truly means to outnumber someone. Mu Chen's cold voice slowly echoed through the plaza. The Ghost Emperor and the others frowned, an uneasy feeling rising within them. Just as this unease took root in their hearts, Mu Chen raised his hand and gently brushed over a ring on his finger. In the next moment, boundless dark light surged forth from it. As the dark light swept through, the world fell silent in an instant. Countless powerful figures looked on in astonishment at the White Jade Plaza. Behind Mu Chen, an armored, perfectly coordinated army of mystic dragon soldiers eerily manifested. When this silent army appeared, an indescribable, terrifying battle intent surged through the world, shaking the very heavens and earth. The orderly army stood silently behind Mu Chen, as still as statues. Yet, within this silence, a terrifying energy began to coalesce above them, brewing a powerful force. Around the plaza, countless strong figures and factions looked on in shock. The sense of pressure emanating from this army was even stronger than that of most immortal-grade heavenly supremes. Clearly, this army was no ordinary force. Facing this silent army, even the Ghost Emperor and the others narrowed their eyes slightly, sensing the intense threat emanating from it. This brat still has such a trick up his sleeve. No wonder he's so confident. However, the Ghost Emperor and his group showed no fear. After all, no matter how many tricks Mu Chen had, they were still 5 immortal-grade heavenly supremes. With this kind of lineup, even someone like Huang Xuanji would have to retreat. They did not believe that with 5 immortal grades, they would fail to deal with someone at the mid-spirit grade. Lord of Mu Mansion, you certainly have many tricks up your sleeve, but we still advise you to reconsider. Do not destroy yourself in a moment of recklessness, the Ghost Emperor said with a dark tone, full of threats. Mu Chen merely smiled faintly at the words, not responding. He tilted his head slightly, looking toward the front of the mystic dragon army, where a tall figure stood. It was Jiang Long, the commander of the army. I didn't expect that in such a short time. Mu King has already ascended to the heavenly supreme realm. Jiang Long noticed Mu Chen's gaze and respectfully clasped his hands in greeting. His attitude now was clearly more respectful than before. After all, back then, Mu Chen was only at the perfect Earth Supreme realm. Now, however, he had crossed that gap and stepped into the heavenly supreme realm. In a sense, Mu Chen had already reached a level comparable to their previous master. Mu Chen smiled, his voice warm. Commander Jiang Long, prepare for battle. The mystic dragon army has been dormant for many years. It's time for the world to witness its sharpness again. In the past, the mystic dragon army had been unable to unleash its full power under his command, but now, with his ascension to heavenly supreme, Mu Chen felt confident in restoring the army's former might. Hearing this, not only did Jiang Long's eyes shine with excitement, but the soldiers of the mystic dragon army also trembled slightly, their eyes filled with eagerness. In the past, under their former master, they had slain countless demon emperors, their terrifying reputation known across the land. However, due to Mu Chen's previous weaker strength, they had only been able to utilize a fraction of their power. For an army that had once slain many demon emperors, this had been stifling. Fortunately, with Mu Chen's current strength, he was finally able to fully control them. Let the battle intent rise. Jiang Long let out a low growl, and in the next instant, 10,000 mystic dragon army soldiers behind him roared in unison. Within their roars, the sound of dragons could be heard. Immediately after, an overwhelming surge of battle will spread across the sky, condensing above the mystic dragon army into an immense ocean of battle intent. Within that ocean, waves of battle will roll fiercely, causing the very space itself to tremble. Splash, splash. Mu Chen moved, appearing within the ocean of battle. As his senses expanded, he could hear the sound of crashing waves coming from within the ocean itself. This was a sign that the battle will had condensed to a terrifying degree. At the far end of the plaza, the Ghost Emperor and the other 4 stared grimly at the vast ocean of battle intent. Exchanging glances, a cold gleam flickered in their eyes. Judging by the situation, Mu Chen was clearly determined to fight them. Arrogant brat. Let's grant him his wish, said the Violet Thunder Venerable with a chilling tone. The other 4 nodded. In the next moment, 5 terrifying surges of spiritual energy shot skyward, transforming into 5 dazzling beams of light like radiant gemstones. They tore through the void at astonishing speed, crashing fiercely toward the ocean of battle will. The Ghost Emperor and his companions, seasoned and cunning, understood that if they destroyed the ocean of battle intent, the army would collapse without a fight. 5 immortal grade Heavenly Supremes striking together unleashed a world-shaking force. Countless experts around the White Jade Plaza felt their scalps tingle. If such an attack landed within a city, Tianluo City itself would be flattened. Chen looked up, his expression calm as he gazed at the 5 incoming gemstone-like beams. He lifted his hand and flicked his finger. Boom. The vast ocean of battle will surge violently. A colossal wave rose, then, under Chen's command, it transformed into billions of radiant droplets that shot outward. Each droplet was condensed battle intent in liquid form. Upon closer inspection, one could see tiny dragon shadows roaring within each droplet, emitting low growls. Whoosh! Countless droplets of battle will blanketed the sky, colliding head-on with the 5 gemstone beams. In that instant, countless droplets exploded, but new ones surged forth relentlessly. Under this torrential assault, the 5 gemstone beams were gradually worn down until they finally shattered into a rain of sparkling light. As the brilliant rain filled the sky, countless experts were left in silent shock. What astonished them even more was that Chen had actually withstood the combined assault of 5 immortal-grade Heavenly Supremes. Though it was merely a probing attack, Chen remained composed, showing no sign of fear. Clearly, even when facing 5 immortal-grade Heavenly Supremes, he harbored little apprehension. No wonder he is the Lord of Mu Mansion. It's no surprise he holds such a strong reputation in the Great Thousand Worlds, many experts murmured inwardly. Chen's combat strength was terrifyingly beyond expectations. If given more time, once he advanced into the immortal grade, he might truly become an invincible existence below the Saint grade. It was no wonder the Ghost Emperor and his allies were so wary of him, desperate to strike now. They knew that if they missed this chance, next time they might not even have the courage to face him. Whispers filled the air around the plaza. Meanwhile, the Ghost Emperor and the others grew increasingly grim. Without wasting another word, immense spiritual radiance gathered behind them. 5 towering figures emerged behind them. They had summoned their supreme Dharma forms. Clearly, after their initial probe, they realized Chen's strength was beyond ordinary means. Holding nothing back, they unhesitatingly unleashed their ultimate forms. The 5 colossal figures stood tall between heaven and earth, exuding terrifying pressure as spiritual energy raged like a storm around them. Chen narrowed his eyes as he gazed at the looming figures. His hands swiftly formed seals, and the vast ocean of battle will churned. A deafening dragon's roar echoed across the heavens. Everyone could see it. Within the ocean of battle will, a massive form coiled and surged, eventually bursting forth. It was a colossal dragon, its scales gleaming brilliantly. On each scale, intricate battle runes were etched. As it emerged, a ferocious aura swept across heaven and earth. The battle spirit. Only now, the mystic dragon army's battle spirit was even more refined than before, almost as if it were a living creature. Chen sensed the fluctuations emanating from the battle-intent dragon, and a look of satisfaction flashed in his eyes. At its peak, the mystic dragon army could rival the strongest warriors at the peak immortal grade. That was nearly on par with the Saint grade, with few opponents capable of matching them. Currently, the mystic dragon army numbered 15,000, though Chen had only summoned 10,000 warriors. Even so, the battle-intent dragon they had formed was powerful enough to reach the top tier of the mid-immortal grade. Boom! As the battle-intent dragon took form, the 5 figures of the Ghost Emperor and his allies immediately unleashed a fierce assault. 5 supreme Dharma forms swung massive fists, shattering the void. With boundless power, they pierced through space and charged directly at the battle-intent dragon. At this level, even the seemingly simple act of swinging a fist by a supreme Dharma form was a concentration of vast spiritual energy. One punch could obliterate the supreme Dharma form of a spirit-grade Heavenly Supreme. This was the so-called 1/4 subdues 10,000. The 5 enormous figures tore through the air. Chen remained unfazed, and with a shift in his thoughts, the battle-intent dragon let out a mighty roar, swinging its tail and launching itself directly into battle. Boom! The battle-intent dragon's claws struck out, blocking the sky and the sun, and collided head-on with the supreme Dharma form of the Danyang Patriarch. Bang! A thunderous sound rang out as the space around them seemed to collapse. To everyone's shock, it was the Danyang Patriarch's supreme Dharma form that faltered first, being sent flying by the dragon's claw. Damn it! The Danyang Patriarch stood atop the shoulder of his supreme Dharma form, his face dark with fury. He shouted, "Everyone, attack together." The 5 supreme Dharma forms soared into the sky, surrounding the battle-intent dragon. Waves of terrifying attacks followed, intending to tear it apart. However, the battle-intent dragon showed no fear in the face of such a siege. It swung its tail and launched claw strikes relentlessly, and each attack, except for the Ghost Emperor's supreme Dharma form, was easily suppressed. The power of the battle-intent dragon was at the peak of the mid-immortal grade, and aside from the Ghost Emperor, the others were merely in the early immortal grade, so they were no match in a direct clash. Boom, boom. High in the sky, the battle raged. The 5 colossal figures resembled 5 blazing suns, emitting blinding light. The spiritual energy storms they unleashed were filled with a destructive aura. But what astonished countless onlookers was that despite the combined assault of the 5 supreme Dharma forms, the central battle-intent dragon showed no signs of weakening. Instead, it fought back fiercely, its overwhelming battle intent shattering the void and pushing back the 5 supreme Dharma forms. Around the plaza, many powerful figures wiped sweat from their brows. They had always known that the Lord of Mu Manor was extremely formidable, with a far-reaching reputation, but it wasn't until today, seeing him hold his own against 5 immortal-grade experts, that they fully realized just how powerful this young mansion lord truly was. Perched on the shoulder of one shadowy giant, the Ghost Emperor's face darkened. He looked at the still defiant battle-intent dragon under their joint assault and clearly hadn't expected that not only was Mu Chen's combat prowess astonishing, but his skill as a formation master was also on an incredibly high level. If this continues, we won't be able to defeat him. The Ghost Emperor's eyes flickered with dark light, a cold smile spreading across his face. He then gripped his palm, and a gray-white bone disc appeared in his hand. In that case, you'll have to experience this. The gray-white bone disc appeared in the Ghost Emperor's hand. The disc had a smooth mirror-like surface, resembling a bone mirror, with ancient runes etched along its edges. The mirror subtly emitted an overwhelming spiritual energy fluctuation. As the ancient mirror appeared, Mu Chen noticed it instantly, his eyes narrowing and his expression growing serious. That fluctuation, is this an immortal-grade supreme artifact? Even among the rarest immortal-grade supreme artifacts, this kind of fluctuation was exceptionally strong. Mu Chen hadn't expected the Ghost Emperor to possess such a powerful item. Clearly, this was his trump card. Lord of Mu Manor, I didn't want to use this at first, but since you're so stubborn, don't blame me, the Ghost Emperor said with a sinister smile, holding the bone mirror. But don't worry, your background is strong, and I won't kill you just yet. However, you will pay a heavy price today. Mu Chen's expression remained calm, and he replied flatly, I'm just afraid you won't have the ability. Although the Ghost Emperor had the power of a mid-immortal grade cultivator, when it came to true combat ability, he likely couldn't even compare to Huang Xuanji. After all, the latter was a prodigy capable of challenging foes across ranks. Since Mu Chen had once defeated Huang Xuanji, he naturally had no reason to fear the Ghost Emperor. Of course, perhaps the Ghost Emperor himself knew this, which was why he never intended to face Mu Chen alone. Only after rallying 4 heavenly supremes at the initial immortal grade did he dare to engage Mu Chen directly. Then go ahead and try. Hearing the cold indifference in Mu Chen's voice, a savage gleam flashed across the Ghost Emperor's face. In an instant, his hands formed seals, and the bone mirror in his grasp transformed into a beam of white light that soared into the sky. Caught in the wind, it expanded rapidly, and within seconds, it became a colossal bone mirror nearly 1,000 feet across, suspended in the air. Altogether, the Ghost Emperor turned to the 4, Dan Yang Patriarch and the others, and barked in a low voice. Clearly, the 4 were well aware of the mirror's mysterious power. Fierce expressions crossed their faces as they nodded and quickly formed their own seals. The next moment, 5 immense supreme Dharma forms rose above their heads, and 5 towering beams of majestic light shot skyward, each blasting directly into the gigantic bone mirror. Buzz! As the 5 light pillars, each infused with boundless spiritual energy, poured into the mirror, ripples spread across its surface. An indescribable force began to compress and concentrate on the mirror's face. The very space surrounding the bone mirror showed signs of collapsing, as if it could no longer bear the pressure of that spiritual energy fluctuation. Within the White Jade Plaza, both Nine Nether and the Profound Heaven Elder sensed the intense energy condensing atop the bone mirror. Their expressions shifted subtly. They could feel it clearly. The mirror was merging the spiritual energy of all 5. That was no simple feat. The 5 possessed overwhelming power, and under normal circumstances, their energies would naturally repel one another. But through the mirror's arcane power, they were being drawn together as one. This fusion was unlike their earlier joint attacks, where each acted independently. This time, it was a true unification of strength. An assault of this level could potentially annihilate even a heavenly supreme at the mid-immortal grade. Clearly, this was the Ghost Emperor and his allies' ultimate move. Around the White Jade Plaza, the powerful individuals of the Tianluo continent and the major factions had all noticed what was happening. Their expressions grew solemn. They understood that once this battle was decided, a new overlord of the Tianluo continent would emerge. Looks like the Lord of Mu Mansion is in real danger now. With 5 immortal grade heavenly supremes combining their strength through that bone mirror, it's a force capable of tearing the world apart. Even a mid-immortal grade cultivator might not survive it. He's still too young. The Ghost Emperor and his lot are cunning and seasoned. Would they have challenged him now if they didn't have a trump card ready? If the Lord of Mu Mansion falls here, Mu Manor will be forced to withdraw from the Tianluo continent. Years of effort, gone in an instant. Murmurs rippled across the world, but Mu Chen seemed oblivious. His gaze narrowed, fixed on the bone mirror and the terrifying spiritual energy amassing above it. It demanded his full attention. Rumble. The power continued to gather atop the bone mirror until it eventually transformed into thunderous bolts of spiritual energy, crackling and booming with destructive force. Standing beneath the mirror, the Ghost Emperor felt the overwhelming energy, so intense it made even him uneasy. A cold, sinister grin spread across his face as he locked eyes with Mu Chen and waved his hand. Let's see how you handle the power of the ancient divine convergence mirror. As his words fell, the bone mirror trembled violently. Its surface flashed, and a beam of light shot out like it pierced through space itself, aimed directly at Mu Chen. Boom. In that instant, dazzling spiritual light erupted wildly across the mirror's face, then began to compress rapidly. Within just a few seconds, the thousands of feet wide light pillar shrank into a silver beam no larger than a palm. Though reduced in size, the moment that beam was released, the very heavens seemed to split. Wherever it passed, annihilation followed. Mu Chen's expression turned increasingly grave as he stared at the silver beam. The deadly aura radiating from it chilled even him to the core. Who? He took a deep breath. His hands formed seals in a blur, and his boundless battle will surged skyward, pouring continuously into the massive battle-intent dragon. As the fierce battle intent surged, the battle-intent dragon let out a mighty roar. Its already enormous body rapidly expanded at an astonishing speed. What was most striking, however, was that countless battle runes began to emerge on its massive form, appearing at an overwhelming rate. 10 million, 30 million, 40 million. With Mu Chen's current strength, the battle runes formed by the mystic dragon army had already surpassed 10 million in number. Generally, when the number reached 10 million, it could rival a spirit-grade heavenly supreme. With 40 million battle runes, it could even compete with an immortal-grade heavenly supreme. At this very moment, Mu Chen had unleashed the full force of the battle intent from his 10,000 mystic dragon army soldiers without reservation. Whoosh! At this time, a small, but blindingly brilliant silver beam, no larger than the size of a palm, shot through the space at incredible speed. Roar! The battle-intent dragon roared furiously. Its massive jaws opened wide, and a vast stream of battle-rune dragon breath erupted from its mouth. Engraved upon the dragon's breath were over 40 million battle runes. Boom! The powerful battle-rune dragon breath collided with the tiny silver beam. Despite the seemingly massive difference in size, the battle-rune dragon's breath began to disintegrate at an astonishing speed upon impact. Where the silver beam passed, the dragon breath was completely annihilated. Mansion Lord Mu, 40 million battle runes are indeed impressive, but if you think this will stop the 5 of us working together, you're being far too naive. The Ghost Emperor sneered coldly as he observed the destructive silver beam. Mu Chen expressionlessly watched the silver beam, which had shattered the 40 million battle rune dragon breath in just a few moments. He took a deep breath, flicked his finger, and a ring on his hand flickered with a ghostly light. The ghostly light spread behind him, and 5,000 more mystic dragon army soldiers appeared. He had originally planned to hold back, but seeing the current situation, it was clear that he had to go all out. Unleash your battle intent to the fullest. Mu Chen's deep voice echoed in the ears of every mystic dragon army soldier. In the next moment, their eyes slowly turned blood red, and low growls of battle lust began to rumble from their throats. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 15,000 beams of battle intent shot into the sky, each one solid and resilient, before surging directly into the massive form of the battle-intent dragon. Roar. The battle-intent dragon let out a frenzied roar, its body expanding once more, and the battle runes on its body surged in size. 23 million, 35 million, 40 million, 45 million. As the number of battle runes rapidly increased, an overwhelming pressure began to fill the air, causing the very sky to darken. The Ghost Emperor and the Danyang Patriarch, along with the other three, could not help but change their expressions as they watched. 45 million battle runes were a terrifying amount. Even a mid-stage immortal grade Heavenly Supreme would feel their scalp go numb in the face of such power. This guy is truly troublesome. The Ghost Emperor gritted his teeth, and his hands swiftly formed a seal. The brilliant, almost unseeable silver beam suddenly accelerated, preparing to tear the battle-intent dragon apart within a few moments. Chen looked up. His gaze was locked on the enormous battle-intent dragon, his eyes bloodshot, even bleeding slightly. This was because the battle intent he controlled had reached its utmost limit. He stared intently at the battle intent dragon, watching as the number of battle runes continued to rise on its vast body. With each increase, the bloodshot veins in his eyes grew more pronounced, as if they were about to burst. 50 million. When the battle runes reached 50 million, the growth finally stopped. A single drop of blood tear fell from the corner of Chen's eye. He casually wiped it away and let out a deep breath. 50 million battle runes marked the limit for the Mystic Dragon army. Perhaps they still lagged behind their peak, but with 50 million runes, even a late-stage immortal grade Heavenly Supreme would not dare to underestimate them. As for those below late-stage immortal grade, they would be slain without a second thought. Go, Chen said with a tired voice, rubbing his brow. However, his bloodshot eyes gleamed with an incredible sharpness and murderous intent. He extended his finger and pointed toward the sky. Roar. In the next moment, the colossal body of the battle-intent dragon transformed into a streak of gray light and shot forward. In the midst of countless shocked gazes, it collided violently with the silver beam of destruction, which had gathered the combined strength of 5 immortal-grade Heavenly Supremes. Boom. Above the white jade plaza, the battle-intent dragon let out a deafening roar as 50 million battle runes erupted with dazzling brilliance. The pressure radiating from them struck fear into the hearts of countless onlookers below. Under the weight of all those terrified gazes, the battle-intent dragon collided head-on with a blinding silver beam of light that tore across the sky. At the moment of impact, the heavens themselves seemed to crumble. An indescribable shockwave swept outward from the clash, shattering space as if the very fabric of the world was being torn apart. All eyes were locked on the epicenter of that terrifying collision. Ferocious battle intent clashed violently with radiant silver light, both forces consuming and corroding each other in a brutal struggle for dominance. Previously, the silver beam infused with the combined might of 5 immortal-grade Heavenly Supremes had easily overwhelmed 40 million battle runes. But now, with the rune count surging to 50 million, the tide had turned. The sweeping battle intent surged forth, and the once unmatched silver light began to wane, no longer able to advance. Under the dragon's relentless roar, it was slowly forced back. The 5 watching figures, among them the Ghost Emperor, couldn't help but change expressions. Even they showed a rare flicker of fear in their eyes. 50 million battle runes. How could Chen's mastery of battle arrays be this terrifying? Each of them growled in disbelief. A battle array master capable of wielding 50 million runes was already comparable to a peak immortal-grade powerhouse. Roar. Just as dread gripped their hearts, the battle-intent dragon unleashed a world-shaking roar. In the next instant, it opened its massive jaws and devoured the silver beam of annihilation whole. Boom. 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 Explosions rumbled from within the dragon's body as flickers of silver light struggled within, but the 50 million battle runes on its scales blazed in unison, suppressing the rampaging spiritual energy within. The muffled detonations continued for a while until the silver glow finally faded away. The massive dragon's body, however, shrank rapidly, nearly half of the battle runes dimmed. Clearly, suppressing that silver light had drained it tremendously. Spurt. At that moment, the 5 figures, including the Ghost Emperor, turned pale. Their spiritual energy trembled violently before they all spat out blood. Their powerful auras plummeted. They had been hit by the backlash as well. This guy is too much trouble. We can't handle him, muttered Danyang Patriarch, his face ashen as he looked toward Chen with visible fear. Clearly, he was already considering retreat. The others also looked grim. Even with their combined efforts, they hadn't gained the upper hand against Chen, It was a humiliating defeat. Only the Ghost Emperor's expression remained dark, his eyes full of bitter unwillingness. Should we retreat for now? Dan Yang Patriarch suggested. The backlash had seriously injured him, and his fighting strength had dropped sharply. He no longer had the will to continue the battle. Hearing this, Violet Thunder Venerable and the others were also tempted. Spiritual energy stirred around them. They were preparing to withdraw. You think you can run now? But just as they stirred, Chen sensed it. A glint of icy sharpness flickered in his pitch-black eyes. Though the clash had wounded his enemies, he was well aware that more than 2,000 Mystic Dragon warriors from the Mystic Dragon army had also been severely wounded in the counterforce. Recovery would not be swift. Rage burned in his heart. How could he let them escape so easily? A cold light gleamed in Chen's eyes. He stood up, and a shadow stepped out from behind him, taking a seated position within the battle-intent ocean to maintain the dragon's suppression. As for Chen himself, a pair of brilliant phoenix wings, seemingly forged from gold, slowly unfurled behind him. With a single flap, his figure vanished like a wraith from the world. Watch out. At the moment of his disappearance, the Ghost Emperor and the others immediately sensed something and shouted in alarm. Their eyes were filled with gravity, for even they could no longer sense where Chen was. Whoosh. Just as their cheers subsided, Dan Yang Patriarch's expression suddenly changed drastically. A blurry figure emerged from the void, facing him directly. Chen's face was emotionless, his eyes glowing with the presence of the pagoda of Futu. Crystal-like spiritual energy flowed through his limbs, and at that moment, his palm moved forward with a gentle motion. It seemed slow, but the speed was so fast that the naked eye could barely catch it. At this point, Dan Yang Patriarch had already been severely injured from the backlash, so when his spiritual energy defense erupted, Chen's palm, shimmering with crystal light, had already landed on his chest. Boom. A deep sound echoed as Dan Yang Patriarch's chest caved in under the strike. Even the gemstone-like spiritual energy could not withstand Chen's enraged blow. Pfft. Blood spurted wildly from Dan Yang Patriarch's mouth. His body was sent flying like a cannonball. At the same time, the supreme Dharma form beneath his feet cracked, finally shattering into pieces, exploding into the air. Whoosh. Without even sparing a glance, Chen smashed through Dan Yang Patriarch's chest. His golden phoenix wings behind him flapped again, unleashing an overwhelming speed, and he vanished mysteriously. Activate the supreme Dharma form for defense. When Dan Yang Patriarch was struck, the other four immediately sensed the danger. They shouted in unison, realizing that Chen's speed had far surpassed theirs. Even the Ghost Emperor had difficulty tracking his form. The only thing they could do was activate the supreme Dharma form to defend against Chen's ghostly-like assault. Roar. But just as they were about to summon their supreme Dharma form, the battle spirit dragon under Chen's control roared once more, surging forward with immense battle intent, entangling the four supreme Dharma forms. Damn it! The four cursed in unison, a chill running through their hearts. At this moment, all of them were still suffering from the backlash, while Chen had unleashed terrifying speed, clearly planning to take them out one by one. At this point, even if they wanted to retreat, it was already impossible. Whoosh! As their curses echoed, Chen's figure appeared before Violet Thunder Venerable. Vast crystal spiritual energy surged as he clenched his fist, his expression indifferent as he punched at Violet Thunder Venerable. Arrogant! Do you truly think I fear you? Violet Thunder Venerable roared, lightning flashing violently around him. He also threw a punch, the lightning engulfing everything like the end of the world. At this moment, he understood that if he showed any sign of hesitation, Chen would overpower him effortlessly. Boom. The two fists collided with a powerful shockwave, but Violet Thunder Venerable's face changed drastically as he saw the crystal light spreading along Chen's fist, forming strange patterns that crept up his arm and began to wind around his body. Wherever the crystal light passed, the spiritual energy inside his body began to bizarrely dissipate. Sealing power? Violet Thunder Venerable gasped in horror. Dong! Before his voice could fully escape, Chen's fist broke through his defense and sent him flying, his body now covered in crystal patterns. His once fast spiritual energy was now significantly diminished, clearly sealed for a brief period. Whoosh, whoosh. After effortlessly dispatching Violet Thunder Venerable, Chen turned his focus to the Yuxian City Lord and the White Tiger King. Both were at the initial immortal grade, and now severely injured. They were no match for Chen in a one-on-one battle. Within a few dozen breaths, both had their spiritual energy sealed, falling from the sky in a disarrayed manner, crashing onto the White Jade Plaza. By this point, only the Ghost Emperor remained in the sky, still holding his ground. Mu Chen's counterattack was too swift. As the four immortal grade Heavenly Supremes were defeated and fallen, the numerous powerful figures surrounding the White Jade Plaza only then reacted, with a wave of stunned gasps filling the air. They looked up in shock at the young figure in the sky, their eyes filled with awe. Clearly, everyone was shaken by the combat strength Mu Chen had displayed. "It's your turn." Mu Chen paid no attention to the awe in their gazes, simply turning his gaze to the Ghost Emperor, his eyes cold and indifferent. The Ghost Emperor's expression darkened, but he decisively shot backward. With the combat power of the four Dan Young Patriarchs group now gone, he knew he could not face Mu Chen alone and had no choice but to retreat. "Can you escape?" Mu Chen's eyes flashed with a cold light. Behind him, his phoenix wings flapped, and his body instantly pierced through the space, appearing in front of the Ghost Emperor in a strange and uncanny manner, before delivering a powerful punch. Endless crystal spiritual light surged from his fist, dazzling and brilliant. The Ghost Emperor, though troubled by the terrifying speed granted by Mu Chen's golden phoenix wings, was no ordinary foe himself. Seeing that retreat was impossible, a fierce glint flashed in his eyes. "You may easily defeat them, but that doesn't mean you can handle me with such ease," the Ghost Emperor growled ominously. His hands moved in a blur, quickly forming seals. Endless cold and sinister spiritual power gathered, transforming into a ghostly seal, emanating a chilling, eerie aura, accompanied by the sound of countless wails. "Myriad Ghost Seal." The Ghost Emperor shouted as he wielded the seal, sending it crashing toward Mu Chen. Mu Chen's eyes glowed with intensity, and a cold smile tugged at the corners of his lips. As his mind stirred, the roar of a dragon echoed through his body. A true dragon's shadow emerged from his flesh, eventually turning into a golden light that merged into his arm. The dazzling golden light shot out from Mu Chen's arm, and his entire hand transformed. It morphed into a claw that seemed forged from solid gold, a true dragon's claw. Boom! The golden dragon claw shattered the void, and with a powerful strike, it collided heavily with the ghostly seal. At the moment of impact, the Ghost Emperor's sinister face twisted in horror. Shock and fear surged onto his pale face as a terrified voice erupted from him. This is real immortal grade power.